Hi, this is Craig Smith, Chairman of Swiss America Trading Corporation. You know, traditionally you'll see me on a set that's a little bit fancier. I probably have a nicer tie on. I didn't have time for any of that today, to be quite honest with you, because this information is so critical that I hope that you will take time to spread it on to friends and family. I'm hopeful to get this message out to as many people as I can, as rapidly as I can, because something happened last Friday that's so critical this nation needs to pay attention. And we normally don't date our videos, but again, this is Monday, March 26th. March 23rd, we had something happen in this nation that, in my opinion, is a day that will live in infamy. And I know we always associate that with Pearl Harbor, but there may be a correlation, quite frankly. Friday, our president, Donald J. Trump, was forced to sign a $1.3 trillion omnibus package, literally sending this government spending on steroids. We now have sent a message to the world and to this country, and especially to every single American, that deficits don't matter anymore. We will burden your children and your grandchildren with future debt, and that let's throw caution to the wind because debts and deficits don't matter anymore. But this was done with a Republican president's signature, the Senate leader's approval, Mitch McConnell, who's a Republican, and the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, who is a Republican. That's right, we have one of the second largest omnibus spending bill in the history of this country. One that would make Barack Obama blush or maybe make him jealous. And we spent this money that we don't have. And we were fearful of a government shutdown. Give me a break. We were told that if we could just get a Republican Congress and we could stop this profligate spending and bring our house back into order and make sure our children and future generations are not burdened with our mistakes. And then we were told, well, we can't just do it with the House, we have to have the Senate. And so you went out and voted by the millions, and you turned the Senate back over to the Republicans, and you made Mitch McConnell their leader and said, now we'll get it stopped. And then they had the audacity to come back to us and say, well, but if we can just get a Republican president, then for sure we can defund Obamacare and stop spending money we don't have. Well, guess what? Friday, March 23rd, the Republicans, not just the Democrats, but the Republicans spent more money than we should have. And we have now jumped off the fiscal cliff. We have now put ourselves past the point of no return. And you wonder why guys like Bill Gates and Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett and the famous investor billionaire Carl Icahn, and I could give you dozens of others, are now saying that they're worried about a crash is because we have thrown caution to the wind. We are a government that's out of control. We spend more money than we bring in now. And I don't care if this economy grows at 3%, 4%, 5%. This government will just continue to spend money. We've increased spending by 13%. Where are we going to get this money? Well, let me tell you where we've gotten it in the past. In the past, we print treasury bills. Treasury bills are then purchased. They're denominated in dollars. And those dollars are used by countries around the world to buy oil, because oil has always been traded in dollars. But today, March 26th, in Shanghai, they started trading what's called the Petro Yuan. That means you can now buy oil denominated in, yes, Chinese currency, the People's Republic of China's currency, their People's Bank of China, now their currency. So now what happens when Iran says, well, I don't need to go to buy dollars? Or any of the other oil-consuming nations say, well, I don't need to go buy dollars, so I don't need to buy those treasury bills. I'll just go and buy yuan. What happens to our ability to finance those deficits? Will taxes go back up? Will inflation start to come back as a direct result of printing presses? The money's got to come from somewhere. And what happens when angry Americans all over this nation, that are upset with what happened on Friday, go to the polls in November of 2018 and say, we've had it with the Republicans. They've promised us physical austerity. They've promised us to defund Obamacare. They've promised us to hold the line on spending, and they haven't produced. We're going to go back to the Democrats. And next thing you know, you have Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, and you have Chuck Schumer as the majority leader in the Senate. Then what happens to all the wonderful things that our president has done to roll back regulations, to lower taxes, to stimulate our economy, to bring jobs back to America? What happens then? Let me tell you what happens. Social programs will explode. Entitlement programs will explode, because entitlement programs produce votes, and votes go to the Democrats. The Democrats will control this nation for the next 3-4 decades if we're not very, very careful. And I got to tell you, this is so important for us to consider right now. This would literally be like taking, and I did a little bit of math, by taking every child in this country, every grandchild, and giving them a credit card that had a $200,000 limit on it. And the government went and just charged that credit card Friday, March 23rd. And now when they grow older, they're going to have another $200,000, each one of them, to pay back. Where's that money going to come from? And this is gone beyond the point of no return. We have jumped off a fiscal cliff. And people who have money, I don't care if it's in the stock market, I don't care if it's in a retirement account, I don't care if it's in real estate, I don't care if it's in bonds or mutual funds, money that you do not physically hold in your hands, the government's going to be looking at. Do you think for one moment that the Democrats would not roll back the tax cuts that Mr. Trump put into place? Do you believe for one moment that the Democrats would not move to raise your taxes, or to allow the central banks to create more quantitative easing and spend more money so that we can continue to finance these forever deficits? At this rate, we could run up another $10 trillion worth of debt. Where do we have to get to before it breaks? We're at 21 trillion now. Is it 31 trillion? 41 trillion? Long-term liabilities now exceed $125 trillion, plus the $21 trillion we have. That's $146 trillion. But guess what? When you look at this omnibus, and you see that it increased spending 13%, and you look at baseline budgeting, and you extrapolate that percentage out for years to come, we're going to have $200 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities in Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, welfare, Section 8 housing. It goes on and on and on. We cannot afford this. And this is why this is a call to action to every American that's watching this video. If you have money invested in anything that's denominated in U.S. dollars, you must go out and take a portion of your money and diversify it into something that's tangible. Gold, silver, early American $20 gold pieces. Right on my website, I have a wonderful video about the classic double play that will show you how to maximize your gold holdings with an old classic formula that's been used for years. Look, I've never done an emergency video like this in all the years that I've owned this company. We started back in 1981, or early 82. Started in 81, actually became a corporation in 82. I have watched a lot of things happen over that 36-year period. I have never once felt the burning in my bones that I feel right now about what happened on Friday. I literally walked around my house this weekend looking and thinking and praying and musing and saying to myself, how in the world could we, the Republican Party, the conservative Republican Party, allow this to happen? How could we allow Paul Ryan, who was Romney's running mate, who promised to stop spending money we don't have, encourage the president to sign this bill? Or Mitch McConnell? I don't even want to go down that road. Go read Peter Schweizer's new book about how Mitch McConnell's been easy on the Chinese and it's helped his wife, Elaine Chao, and her family's shipping company that's so highly tied to the Chinese government, state operated entities of the Chinese government. Friends, let me tell you something. The time has come to make a decision. We made a decision. Well, I shouldn't say we. The government, your elected politicians, made a decision on Friday of this past week to pass a 2,200-page omnibus bill. Gave your elected representatives less than 1,000 minutes to read 2,200 pages worth of gobbledygook that does everything from pay for border patrol in Vietnam and Thailand, but does very little to support and protect your border with Mexico. It did a whole lot to fund all kinds of social programs. Oh yes, the good news is our soldiers are going to get a raise. Our veterans are going to be taken care of. We're going to increase military spending $80 billion, which I'm all for because Mr. Obama literally eviscerated our military and our readiness and our ability to be able to protect ourselves. But we should do that because that's the job of the government, is to protect the people, to defend the people. But all the rest of these programs that they crammed in, what in the world is $1 billion to build a tunnel from New Jersey to New York for Mr. Senator Chuck Schumer? What benefit does that have to somebody that lives in Nebraska or Iowa or Wisconsin that is working hard, paying his taxes, trying to keep this country on track? Friends, I have never felt this way in all the years that I've been in this industry, that now is the time. Today is the day. Look, I could give you all the fundamentals. I could show you. Matter of fact, let me just read them to you real quick, and then I'll let you get back to what you were doing. But these are the 5 things that Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Bill Gross, Paul Tudor Jones, Carl Icahn, many others are worried about. A huge return of inflation because they know if we can't borrow the money, we're going to have to print the money. Record high debt. They're saying that over the next 10 years, it's going to cost $5.6 trillion just to service the debt, just to pay the interest on the debt. The bond market worries. It says it's no surprise that hedge fund billionaire Paul Tudor Jones has to say about bonds that they're the most expensive they've ever been by any metric that you measure them by. And they're also worried about geopolitical black swans, unexpected world events that could trigger big losses in the market. Hey, what about all the Russian diplomats that have been expelled from our country and the UK and other members throughout the world, our allies around the world, because of the poisoning situation in the UK? And now Russians retaliating by expelling diplomats from Russia. That right there in itself could be a black swan event that occurred. Or the Iranian nuclear deal blowing up. Or what's going on in the South China Sea with China. And then last but not least, overzealous central banks. Central banks that continue to allow quantitative easing. Yes, it's slowed down and stopped somewhat in America, but it hasn't throughout the world. It hasn't with the European Central Bank and Mario Draghi. It hasn't in other parts of the world with their central banks. They're continuing to expand the money base. There is no time to wait now. We know once you jump off a fiscal cliff, there is no return unless you have a major event that resets all the numbers. It happened in 1907 when the Knickerbocker Trust Company went down and our nation was in a panic and millions of people were wiped out. It happened in 1929, the roaring 20s with the big cars and the fur coats and everything looked so good. In 1929, people were wiped out. They lost farms and homes and stocks. It happened in 1987. One day in the stock market, 22% evaporated. Or what about the $19 trillion worth of wealth that was wiped out in 2008 in the housing crisis and the subprime mortgage crisis? Our banks are, in my opinion, doing us no favors in how they're handling our monetary base or how they are supposedly taking care of their customers. And I just heard as I walked into this studio that there's a major stock brokerage firm that, guess what? You used to have the expected or realized or unrealized returns on your statement, and then they would give you a year to date of what you've made or what you've lost. They're taking that tab off your computer. They don't want you to know where you are year to date. Is that because of market volatility? Because you'd be shook up and maybe take some of that money out of the stock market if you really realized what was happening to your portfolio? So I leave you with this. If we have Republican Congress, Republican Senate, and a Republican president that ends up spending this type of money, where are we headed? If you have the Democrats saying we need to spend more, we need to bring in more immigrants, more illegal immigrants, we need to bring them out of the shadows and make them all citizens and be taxpayers. Come on. We could go for the next 2 hours showing the negative impact that illegal immigration has on this country. Mr. Trump promised us a wall. The Democrats took it away in this omnibus bill with the help of the Republicans. Okay, I appreciate and respect our president for standing up for our military and making sure that we stay strong defensively. Because with what Mr. Obama's done to our military, we have to be prepared for the unknown right now, especially with China going after all the rare earth minerals like molybdenum that strengthens our steel for battle tanks and so on and so forth. I'm glad we're bringing steel back to America so that we can build our own tanks and our own artillery and so on and so forth if we have to defend this nation. But make no mistake about it, that we told you today, March 26th, that we passed the Rubicon on Friday. We went off the fiscal cliff. There are deficits as far as the eye can see right now. And all I can ask you is this. If you have not taken action to diversify a portion of your portfolio in gold, silver, or coins, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to shake you out of your slumber? Is it going to take a bomb going off in the middle of New York City? Is it going to take another terrorist attack? Is it going to take a crash in the stock market? Then it's too late. The time to prepare is now, not tomorrow. And for those of you that are sitting on the fence, if you had any questions of what's going to happen, it was answered Friday, March 23rd, 2018. Oh, I was so hopeful when the president sent that tweet out, I may just veto this bill. He should have vetoed the bill. Send it back to the Senate. Send it back to the Congress. Send it back to conference and say, you get this garbage pork barrel spending out of this bill. You take the things that are not necessary out of this bill. And you give me a bill that every American will be proud of that I signed. No, but instead they play politics again. They're playing politics and Russian roulette with your future, with your children's future, with my granddaughter's future. And I will not sit back and watch it happen. So I just ask you to help me. Help me get this message out and realize that what happened on Friday, and I've got it right on the headline here, $1.3 trillion omnibus bill. If that doesn't get your attention, then nothing will. There's nothing I can say to get you out of harm's way. I guess, unfortunately, there will just be casualties. I hope that's not the case with you. Call us today, 1-800-289-2646. Speak to one of my people. We've got a whole new report, okay, about how collapses work. It's called the Crashless Society. We have a video that goes with it. Okay, let them explain to you exactly what happened as a direct result of signing this bill. I bet you didn't read the 2,200 pages. Hey, I got through about 600 pages. I finally gave up. If you saw the money where we're spending the money, I'm telling you, I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. That's how angry I was. The government is out of control, and we, the people, are going to pay for it. And by the way, if you don't think that's bad enough, then just go turn on a television set. Okay, and go look at the fighting. This group against this group. This group. We are a nation that is so divided. And what did our famous President Abraham Lincoln would say? A house divided against itself will not stand. And this is why my lovely wife, God bless my wife of 40 years, has to go to the other room. She can't listen to it anymore. She said, Craig, I can't listen to the left fight the right and the right fight the left and the conservatives fight the liberals and the liberals fight the conservatives and the anti-gun people fight the gun people. It is horrible. Haven't we had enough? Isn't it time to come together? And yet when we do, and we send a president that says, I won't spend money, a Congress who says I won't spend money, a Senate who says I won't spend, and then they lie, and they break their words. We must be prepared. So thank you for listening, and please call that number today, 800-289-2646. More importantly, please spread this. Give me a like. Send this on to the next person. Let's get this message out to the public, because Friday, March 23rd, 2018 will be one of the more critical points in American history. You mark my words, 50 years from now, we'll be looking at that day as a day America jumped off the fiscal cliff.